Perfect. Well, happy Wednesday. Today we are going to be talking about in-home presentation and agenda. What's important to keep in mind when you're actually getting into home. Last week, on Monday, we did discuss about phone script and objection handling. So how I hope you guys have no questions regarding that. You will be able to find anything that we go over today as well. You are able to find it on the Go-Getters platform under the in-home presentation. So make sure you go over it. And if you have any question, you are always welcome to ask. Awesome, awesome. So I think, I mean, presentation is really nothing that we want to take it very serious, right? As I mentioned as well on Monday, that when we're talking about phone script, it's really not like having a script that you have to be scripted type of thing, but also making sure that you're staying organized and making sure you're following the right path to say the right wordings, to use the right terminology, to not mess it up, basically. Because all the things like whether it's phone or objections, in-home presentation, everything that we talk about is, we put it together, that what has worked for the top producer, what has worked for us, we put it together and shared it with you guys, making sure you don't make the mistakes that we have done before, if that makes sense. So I think, before we jump into the actual final expense presentation, or I would say in-home presentation, I think a couple things it's very important that has helped me out. And I think, it's going to help you out as well, is before getting in home, there's a couple steps I think you should follow. I would say I put it into 3 steps, basically. Number 1 is before you get out of your car to go to the client's home, I think it's very important to have your mind clear from any problems you have, whether it's, personal problem, business problem, financial problem, whatever issues you have, leave it in the car. You do not want to bring that into the home. That's the worst mistake you can do, because the client will sense it, okay? And you're going to mess it up and you end up with no sales, okay? Second thing, I think it's really important to be assumptive. So always assume that you are going to help this family out. Don't think about how much you're gonna make, because of course, I mean, we're gonna, everybody works for money. We all get that. But you want to put the client first and think about their family. Think about this way, that, okay, I'm going in, I'm gonna help out this family and making sure that that's, the deal is closed, and I'm gonna protect them. You always wanna assume and think positive. Because here's the thing, your mind is so powerful. We always talk about this all the time, is your mind will attract whatever you are going to think. If you think positive, you're going to attract positive. If you think that you're going to close the deal, you are going to close the deal. If you think negative, that's going to happen. So make sure you be assumptive and think positive. Third thing is confident. I don't care if you're in the field, this is your first time in the field, first day, or you have been, doing this for 1 year. It does not matter. Your confident level should always be here. Your posture should always be right. Confident, when you have the confident, the client will trust you more. You will act more professional, and they will be like, okay, now I can trust I can trust this person with my family. I will know that if I'm gone, this person is going to take care of my family, and I will make sure that my family is going to get paid. So having the confidence is very important, and having the right posture, no matter if it's your first day, no matter it's your, 100-day in field, very important. Okay. Now, when we go, this is, something what I do. I knock on the door with a smile, with confident, right posture. I knock, the person opens up. If my lead says, if I booked an appointment with a lady, Mary, and a lady opens up, right away, I assume this is Mary. Hey, Mary, this is Rangina. I'm here for our appointment. Do you want me to take my shoes off or leave it on? You only get no or yes, come on in. No matter they say yes or no, you're going to get into the house. So that's the time that your confidence level starts. Okay. You want to ask that question is, to get in the house and not make it awkward, because you don't know that person, they don't know you. Make sense? So that's the first thing I do, is with a smile, handshake, confident handshake. If you don't want to do handshake after COVID, everything has changed. But if you don't want to do, handshake, that's totally fine. But have a smile naturally. You don't want to be salesy. You don't want to talk about, things that, be salesy, cheesy, nothing like that. Be yourself and, be honest. If you like the house, you like the neighborhood, talk about that till you get into the house. Okay. So when I get to the house, first thing I do when I enter the house is I look around and go straight where the table is. Dining table, I do not sit on the couch, because they say that, business meetings are done on the table, and then friends, when it comes down friends and family, they do business on the couch. So always look for a chair, for a table to go straight there. If they, if I see around that there is, like, I don't see anything visibly, it's not visible to me, I'm like, hey, or I see that, there's like their dining table is piled up with tons of stuff. I'm like, hey, is it okay to clear a little bit spot so we can, I can put my computer on it, I can write down, it just makes it so much easier. Is it okay to use the table? They'll never say no to you. They're not going to say, no, we're not going to do that and come to the, sofa. That's not going to happen. So make sure go straight to the table and be professional. Okay. So I walk, and meanwhile, we're like, I'm taking my stuff out, my computer out, my state license out, my business card, and whatever is needed, my financial inventory. When I'm taking it out, I talk about something like, hey, the neighborhood looks nice. How long have you been in the neighborhood? Blah, blah, blah. Or I see a picture of a baby. Hey, that's your grandson, your granddaughter, blah, blah, blah. So I talk about things that's, like, that I see around. Like I'm opening up a conversation to make myself feel comfortable, and to make sure that, the other person is also comfortable with me. Does that make sense? So we sit down. Now let's start where the actual business starts, basically. So I think when it comes down to in-home presentation, I feel like there's like really 8 steps to follow. 8 to 9 steps maybe, but most likely 8 steps, like the bigger picture will be 8 steps that we will follow when it comes down to in-home presentation. Number 1, when I sit down, of course, as I mentioned, I take all the important stuff that's actually required for our conversation presentation. I'm going to take all those out, which is number 1, of course, my laptop or my iPad. Number 2 is state license. Here's what I have. I wish I had it with me, but what I have is that I have my state license always laminated. In the back are all the carriers that we are contracted with. And then the first page is my state license printed. You're just building that trust, the credibility, the rapport starting, right away, basically. So I have that out. I have my business card out, so that way they can match my picture, my name with my state license, so they know it's me. And then also I have my financial inventory that you guys are able to find in the back office as well. It's client form. There's multiple ones that we have created that you can use. That helps you out. We're going to be talking about that as well. So those things are important to take out. And then first thing what I do, here's, and here's the thing, guys, just so you know, the presentation that I'm going to go over, there's always going to be slightly different than what's going to look like or sound in home, of course, but just to give you guys a general idea what you're going to be, looking at. First thing first, I'm looking at their lead. If it's a lead that can be printed or it's on a sheet, doesn't matter. I just put it, some of their information on my financial inventory, their first and last name, their date of birth, their age, blah, blah, blah. Just basic information. And then I start asking them, hey, Mary, well, I'm looking forward to help you out today, okay? So I'm here in your service. Now, before we get started, Mary, I would like to ask you this. So first thing what I do, I like to ask them why they filled out the form. Every step that I'm going to go over, guys, every single of the step, it's going to help me out to, overcome the objection ahead of time before it becomes an objection. So that way, everything I'm going to ask them later, if they give me an objection, I go back that, okay, you told me blah, 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 da, 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 da. Okay. So first thing, very important, asking the right question, which is why they filled out the form. Because here's the thing, I don't want to be that person like, okay, well, here's what I do, blah, blah, blah. And then I don't know what they're looking for. If they're looking for a bottle of water, I want to know before I show them a bottle of, a cup of coffee. I don't want to do that. I want to understand why I'm there to help them out. I want them to sell me on why I should help them out. What can I help them out? I'm not salesy. I'm just being professional and letting them know I'm on their side. I'm here to serve them. Makes sense? So very important question. The biggest question, the most important question is why they filled out the form. And before they answer, I like to always give them option. Like I always tell you guys, like, let them seem they're in control, right? Like sometimes they don't know what's going on, and then giving them options, like they like to choose. So I tell them that, hey, is it, most of the people that filled out the form are for multiple reasons. So did you want to take care of the final expenses, just the burial costs, cremation costs, or did you want to, replace your income when you pass away? Did you want to protect your home when you pass away? Or did you want to just leverage legacy? You wanted to leave legacy behind for the family. How can I help you with this, Mary? And I let them talk. I want to hear their story because they filled out the form. Second thing, what I do is that second step, this is the first step, asking why. Second thing, what I do is that I want to understand, what if they did not have this insurance? What does that look like to them? What does that look like to their family if they did not have any insurance in place? This is important because now it opens up that conversation that a lot of people like to be in that, bubbly, or whatever the cloud they're in. They don't want to talk about that. They don't want to think about it. They just fill out forms or they procrastinated, whatever it might be. I want to understand how I can help them out. And also, I want to paint that emotional picture to them that, hey, Mary, if you did not have this insurance, what would that look like to your family? I'm going to let them talk. It can be their son that's going to go through, that, or their daughter, their spouse, whatever it might look like to them. I want to hear it from them. That's important. Painting that in picture to them. Now, I gather information from them. Now I am getting, be a very good listener. So I'm listening to all their concern, to all their situation. And meanwhile, I'm just writing some of the important stuff down because I don't want to repeat what they all have already said. I don't want to make them repeat. I want to be a good listener and really understand that how I can help them out. Now, the third thing here, what I'm going to do, now I have a good idea on what they're looking for. Now, here's my part now. They did their part. My part is to let them know how I can help them out. If they ask that, hey, I'm looking for da, 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 now I'm going to be like, okay, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to help you out with this. So I let them know who I am. Third thing, I let them know who I am. What I tell them that, hey, Mary, listen, this is my state license license. This is my NPN number, my state license number. Look me up on, the State Commissioner Department of Insurance. Look me up and you'll be able to know that I'm licensed, not just a random person you're talking to. I'm actually here to help you out. Now, Mary, I want you to understand that I turned a laminated file. I'm like, Mary, I want you to understand how I can help you out, okay? Now, good news is that these are all the carriers, all the insurance companies that I work with. Okay? I don't work with one, I don't work with two. I represent over 30 different insurance companies. Good news is that I'm a broker. Now, you understand when you actually go to a dealership, you go to Toyota or Honda directly, what they will do is if you tell them that, your budget, you actually, tell them what kind of car you're looking for, whatever, you're looking specification you're looking for, Toyota, even they know that they might not be able to help you out with that. And Honda has, a better car. They're not going to say, hey, go to Honda or go to Benz. They're not going to tell you that. What they will do is try to get the sale, right? But on the other hand, if you go to a dealership and you actually, tell them specifically what you're looking for, they don't really care. They will just put, whatever car you're looking for, they're just gonna give that to you. Because it doesn't matter to that person, whichever car you go with, at the end of the day, it's just gonna benefit both of you guys. Same thing with me, is for me, it does not really matter what insurance company we go with, because I'm here on your side, making sure we get the most out of insurance company. Based on your needs, based on your budget, I'm gonna be shopping around for you. Okay, so you're in great hands. I don't work for them. I represent them, but I work for you. Does that make sense, Mary? With this sentence, guys, that takes a lot off of their shoulder. They're like, well, I'm not sitting down with a salesperson. I'm not sitting down with someone that's gonna screw me up. They feel very comfortable and confident about it. And you right away, that's the time you're gonna earn their trust. Believe it or not, guys, it's really powerful when you're actually really putting it out there that you're really helping them out, okay? That's what I tell them. So, and then I explain the process. This is number 4, right? Number 4, I'm gonna explain the process to them. This has changed a lot when I started doing this, okay? When I started to really follow these steps, guys, believe it or not, my closing ratio not only like took it to the next level, but also I stopped spending hours inside a home. Like, you don't want to do that. Be friendly. Don't get me wrong. Like, for me, I do things differently. Sam does it differently, but our, both of us have very, high closing ratio. It's because we follow the steps, but we put our personality. The worst mistake you can do is be, I can't be Sam, Sam can't be me, I can't be Anise, Anise can't be me. We do not want to copycat each other. We want to follow the steps, but be yourself all the time. Because I have made the worst mistake. Like, I remember in prior, we had a mentor, Paul McLean. I used to watch a lot of his videos and podcasts, and I was like trying to be him, which I messed up. But when I tried to follow his steps and put my own personality into it, that's when it was like boom, 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 boom. So always be yourself, okay? But follow the steps. So this is important, guys. Like, I remember when I was sitting down with clients, like I would spend like 2 hours, 1.5 hours, 2.5 hours in one appointment. You don't want to do that. You're there as a professional. You're not their friend. Be friendly. Don't be their friends. Make sure you help them out and get out of the house. Be professional about it. You don't want to be like a salesperson desperate to, make a sale and then talk about all the things around the world. And at the end of the day, they're like, hey, I love you. I really like you. Thank you for coming. But you know what? You're invited to, our Friday night dinner, but I'm gonna think about it. Not getting out of the house with no sales. Don't do that. My appointment usually takes anywhere between 40 to 45 minutes with submitting application and everything. Some people can take a little bit longer than that, which is okay, but you don't want to spend hours inside a home. The first 15 minutes, I mean, I'm going to be explaining more to you guys. We talk more, but the first 10, maximum 15 minutes of my appointment, I already know which side it's going to go. Either yes or no. You want to find out. I'm not rushing through it. I'm being professional. I'm explaining everything as I go through, but you want to find out, which route your appointment is going to go to, if that makes sense. Let's go back. Let's go back to the fourth step. Okay. The fourth step, what I do is that very important, explaining the process, because I want them to understand what we're going to be going over. Very important. I got what they're looking for. I have an idea what's going to look like to their family. I have all that information. Now I'm going to explain to them what we're going to do. Mary, okay. Here's what we're going to do today, okay? As I mentioned, I'm going to be shopping around for you, making sure we get the right deal. So everything is going to be based on your health. As I mentioned over the phone as well, we're not going to do any blood work, urine tests, none of the crazy stuff out there. But there are some, qualification questions I need to go over. So I'm going to be asking a few questions, which is going to take about 3-4 minutes to do so. So I'm going to ask some health questions just to kind of determine what you may qualify for. Okay. Very important. Number two, what we're going to do is that I'm going to be putting all that information into the system and see which company gives me the most affordable rates. Because Mary, as I mentioned before, 3 things are important from our conversation. Number one is making sure we find you something that's within your budget. Very important. Is making sure it's something that's within your budget, because I'm not sure about you, majority of my clients that I see every day, they are on fixed income, limited income, or either Social Security or disability income, okay? And I know this is important to you, but I want to make sure that we don't put a policy in place that next day you call me, cancel it. No good for you or your family. Make sense? I'm like, yeah, you're absolutely correct. Perfect. Second thing is, Mary, is that we want to make sure that we can get you that you understand the plan. You understand what the benefits would entails. I want to make sure when I walk out the door, you have all that information, what's going to look like to your family when you pass away. Make sense? Yes, perfect. Third thing, Mary, this is important, is we want to make sure that we can get you approved for the policy. Qualification is something that I cannot control. It's all based on your age and health. So that's why I'm asking these health questions. And I want you to be very honest and transparent. And I promise I'll be the same. Does that make sense? Because if you're not honest with me, it's going to make just my job harder to get you protected. So I'm like, having that real conversation with them. Okay. And they're like, okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll be honest with you. So next thing, I'm like, okay, great. So everything you understand everything? Great. So once we have all the 3 things, we will submit all the first 2 things, which is, explaining the benefits and then finding something within your budget. I will help you out to submit an application to the insurance company, okay, to get an approval, which takes sometimes, depending on your health, though it comes back from the medical record, it takes, we can have the approval right away. Or sometimes it takes up to 4 business days for us to get the approval. I like to give them more time. 4 business days is because sometimes they might not get approved and I have to go to another route. So, applying with different carriers, that can be in a hassle. So I just wanted to give them a few extra days. I'm like 4 business days just to get you approved for the policy. And then once you get approved, Mary, the policy gets mailed out to you. All the details that I explained to you will be in writing from insurance company sent to your home. So once you receive it, call me. I'm leaving you my information. Call me. If you have any question, I can answer over the phone. Or if you want me to stop by again and read the policy together with you again to go over it, I don't mind doing so. I would love to stop by again and go over it. Okay. Perfect. Now, any questions? During my conversation, I like to ask them if they have any questions, just to kind of like making sure they're engaged, they're listening to me, like just having the connection, like I'm building connection and rapport throughout my conversation. They'll be like, okay, great. And then before I jump into, my financial inventory and asking them health questions, I like to ask them this. And this is something that really is important, because that's like later when they, give me an objection, I can go back to this. I'm like, so Mary, if all these things that I explained to you, being your budget, you like the plan, everything is good, do you have any reason that you're not going to get the protection if we have something in your budget and the plan is, it's something. Are you guys able to hear me? Sterling, you're not able to hear me?
I think it's it's something on your end.
Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah, I
But
can
I
hear
couldn't
you.
hear you.
Maybe you lost the connection for a little bit.
Yeah, probably.
I can hear you.
I'm having it recorded, so I'm gonna share it with you guys as well, so you are able to, listen to it again. But anywho, yeah, I asked them that if they have any reason not to go with the protection today, if, I find something within their budget and also within their needs. I asked this question because I want to eliminate anything that's gonna come my way. I want to hear from them before we proceed. I'm like, no. Or if they say yes, I like to hear them out. Like, why are they saying yes? Like, what's their concern? Awesome, Sterling. So very important. Now, fifth thing, what I'm gonna do is that, we went over this, like affordability and things like that. So sixth, let's talk about financial inventory. Financial inventory is very important, guys, because that's how it determines, it's actually used for multiple reasons, okay? Number one is to make sure that you actually write things down. You're not asking, them repeatedly, and then going through the questions and making sure you have that noted, that, you're asking about their health, what their health concern is, when they got a heart attack, when they started smoking, when they had a stroke, whatever it might be. I want to have all that documented. And I keep that with me. Like you see there, the first 3 rows are all from my California, Washington, and Idaho clients. I have them all organized. Like if someone calls me after even 3 years, I have their file already with me. I have their financial inventory. Let me show you guys actually. So let's say this is what I have. I like to keep all of that for my record. So that way, if, they go back, they're like, hey, I have never seen this person. Like, I never signed up, but blah, 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 whatever. Or they, ask, they call you for another coverage.
The call is recorded, so make sure you don't show the client's info.
I got you, Sam. Thanks for reminding me though. So if, if they, they call me and after 2 years, and they ask for another coverage, I already have their information. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm just verifying their information, making sure nothing has changed. And then I'm getting another coverage. So that makes it easier for me and the client. So I have their voided check here. I have their lead here. And I have also their information here. I keep this with me all the time. As I mentioned, from 4.5 years ago till today, I have them all with me locked up. Okay, and personal, this is like all personal information, so I like to have it, somewhere safe. So make sure you don't really throw it away. I have all the client's information. So when I go through financial inventory, the first thing I asked is, of course, confirming the information I have is their date of birth, right? Their age and date of birth. So I confirm that. And then next thing is that going through their health questions, health history. So when I ask them any kind of health questions, I like to make sure, and you know what, we might not have time today, but next time I'm going to go over the FEX toolkit, which I love to use that. So I'm going to go over that as well on how I do things when I'm in home or over the phone, doesn't really matter. But going through their health is really important. It's going to determine making, like which route you want to go with. And then when I'm asking like, hey, do you have any diabetes, had any heart attack, stroke, cancer, things like that? If they answer yes to any question, I like to know when it was. If they tell me yes, they had a heart attack, I need to know what year it was, at least, approximately how many years ago it was. That's how it determines. You don't want to be one of those people like they telling, you're not going over all the questions. And then later on, they're like, oh yeah, I have cancer. I'm taking cancer medication. You missed that. You already talked to them about American Amicable Day 1 protection. Now that boom, you have to go another route, which premiums are higher. they have to wait 2 years and things like that. So worst mistake, make sure you take your time and go through all the health questions and gather all that information, which is the most important thing. That's why you're called underwriter. You are a medical underwriter. You got to understand their medical conditions. Okay. And then also the next thing I want to ask, because they already mentioned to me that, if something happens to them, they want to make sure their daughter is taken care of, for an example. Next thing I asked about their information, like, hey, Mary, so if something happens to you, would that be, you mentioned earlier as well, would your daughter be the person that's going to pick up the pieces? I like to talk about the beneficiary, where the beneficiary is, if she wants to leave any money behind to the beneficiary, or, if the beneficiary lives with that person, what their, the name of the person is, I like to have that written down. Over here, at the very end of this form, you'll have the beneficiary name, but I like to write it down while I'm going through the financial inventory. The next thing I will be asking is if they're a smoker, non-smoker, very important. And then fourth thing, very important, guys. This is where other money will be basically triggered, right? I like to ask them that, hey, Mary, so if, do you have anything right now that acts like life insurance? This is a golden question. It opens up the door for IULs, for mortgage protection sometimes, and most likely for IULs and annuities, basically. Golden question, if they have something in place that acts like life insurance. And I explain anything like 401k, anything like an IRA, anything that's, like CDs, cash, whatever it might look like, do you have that in place? So something happens, you are able to leave something else behind for your daughter. They're like, yeah, I actually have 100k in CDs or 50k in my bank, whatever the conversation looks like, whatever their answer is, I just put it as a note. I don't talk about it. I come back to it later. Okay. So I'll leave it as it is, leave the conversation. I don't want to like go from A to Z and then Z to K. I don't do that. I like to have it like boom, 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 boom. I would like to have one business closed and then start the second business. Okay. So I go through that. And then also, that's your basically financial inventory. And then they already mentioned to me at the beginning what they were looking for, but I like to repeat it one more time just to make sure we're not missing anything. I'm like, hey, Mary, I know you mentioned you want to make sure that your daughter doesn't go through any financial hardship if you pass away. So your, cremation or burial is paid. And you mentioned that you lost someone, so you don't want that burden on your family as well. So, but I would like to make sure I understand. So we're just taking care of the burial or cremation, or are we leaving any money behind as well for the family? And when I'm asking question, I don't like to talk, over explain it. No, I like them talk, I let them talk. And they're like, oh yeah, I want to make sure if possible, of course, if it's within my budget, I want to make sure my daughter is taken care of. And I leave her something behind. I want to leave my grandkids something behind. Okay, great. Yeah, absolutely, we can do that. Boom. I know what we're looking for, because I don't want to show them a cremation and then they're looking for a burial, or I don't want to show them only for burial and they're looking to leave money behind. So I kind of want to understand what it's going to look like. So now they're looking for burial and they're looking to leave some money behind. Okay, great. Now it's time for me to put all that information into the FX toolkit, get to know what carrier I need to write with, and get to know, how much coverage I need to show. Worst mistake that I have seen with, some newer agents, and keep it very simple, guys. You don't have to overcomplicate it. And final expense, why we recommend for newer agents to start with final expense, because it's a simple product. Okay, very simple product. All you got to understand is, final expense is, it's permanent, it never expires. It's a day one Coverage. If they get approved for day one protection, it has living benefits, which chronic or terminal illness, it's included. And it builds cash value. And some of the companies, they have accidental death. So these are basic stuff that you have to educate yourself. Make sure you do so. So, and then I explained this to my clients. I'm like, okay, showing them options. I have my company that I want to go with, and I have, the amounts that I want to go with. But now, before I show them the actual, policy, excuse me, the actual value, the actual premiums, or, the face amount of the policy, I think it's really important to have, the value, to really explain them what the value of the policy is, because they're gonna buy the value. The price would not matter more, but if you show the price big, not the value, then they're like, oh gosh, this is $100. But if you show value, they'll be like, oh, it's just $100. Do you see the difference? I always give an example. I'm a, water person. I love water. So water is my best friend. I always give an example of water. I'm like, if I tell you, Anise, this bottle of water is $10. You'll be like, whoa, just for the water, for this is $10. But if I tell you, hey, Anise, do you know that water is so great for hydration, for your skin, for digestion, it keeps you, blah, 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 blah. I tell you all the value. I'm like, it's just for $10. You're like, whoa, for this value, only $10, I'll take it. Do you see the difference? It's so different. So I always, make sure I explain the value more than the price. And then I write down 3 options to them, like 15K, 20K, 30K, whatever it might look like, depending on, of course, their budget. Oh, one thing I think I forgot, I think it's really important when you're actually going through the financial inventory, and this is something that I have found it's very, crucial. It helps you out determine not to show high, not to show low. Is I like to ask them about their, finances. I'm like, hey, Mary, think about this way. I am not only gonna be, an insurance agent for you, but also your free financial advisor. So here's what we are going to do. Let's go ahead and break down what your, income looks like. Approximately, you mentioned you are retired, so approximately how much do you get from Social Security retirement? Like $1,500 a month. Okay, great. So let's break it down. Excuse me. How much is your rent? How much is your utility, your insurance, your grocery, blah, 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 blah. I break it down so that way I know that at the end they have $300 left, for an example. I don't want to show anything over 300. I like to keep it between $75 to, for an example, 200 a month. So that way you're not showing too high, you're not showing too low, because a lot of the time I know with a lot of agents, they judge, they say never judge a book by its cover. So they prejudge someone. They're like, oh my God, this person is on Social Security and they're not gonna be able to afford $200. Boom, they're gonna get more than that. So you never can tell from the way the house is, the way they live, the way, how much they're on. You can never tell. We have, and Sam would, would agree with me. There will be, times that you'll be like, oh gosh, I don't think they can even afford $10. And from that house, you're gonna get the highest premium. And then sometimes the house is awesome, and everything is great. You look around, everything is just awesome. And then you're not gonna be able to get the sale, or maybe very low premium, I would say. So never prejudge, show them, openly. A lot of the time the agents, they're like too scared to show a little bit higher premium. Like, think about this way. They pay $150, $200 for a cable. That's insane. So insurance, life insurance is much more important than that. So either you're going to make a mistake by showing them low because you're not putting the value into it and not really explaining to them. So very important to not be afraid of showing them a little bit higher in premium. Okay. So once I go through all the financial inventory, show them, the benefits of the policy, explain to them, that, this final expense is basically 3 things that's gonna basically cover. It's not gonna go up in price on you, which is really important. And also it covers you day 1 if the person is gonna be healthy and they're not a guaranteed issue, of course. You want to explain to them the day 1 protection. Here's what I put. I think it's really important to know your competitors, guys. Educate yourself. We always talk about education, because you're gonna be a student for the next few weeks that you're gonna get in the game. So you want to make sure you consistently, constantly, you're actually educating yourself. So what you want to do is that you want to know what's out there. So one thing I want to throw out there that's important that has helped me out a lot is knowing that if they call an insurance carrier, even though you might know them, say you know American Amicable, but if the client calls them or they call the client, know this, that almost 100% of the time, it's a 2-year waiting period. Even though the client is perfectly healthy, 100% of the time it's 2-year waiting period. That's important to know, because if they tell you, before they tell me, I tell them that, hey, before, like, I don't know if you're one of those people that most of my clients are like, hey, Rangina, we can get insurance, from ABC company that we see ads on TV or things we get in the mail, that they don't ask any health questions. They tell me that I'm approved guaranteed. So why would I go with you? I'm like, hey, great. I can do the exact thing. I can't just skip medical questions. But you know what the bad part is, Mary? Number one is the prices are going to be higher because a healthy and an unhealthy, person will have pretty much same rates. And it's not going to be fair. So they have to balance it out. And second, worst part, Mary, is that you're going to be on a 2-year waiting period, which that's the worst thing I want for you, because the first 2 years, if you pass away, your family is not going to get paid. I let them know ahead of time. So if they have read somewhere or seen an advertisement, I already throw it out there for them. I already handled that objection. So see how, educating yourself is important. Know about your competitors, know what's out there, and tell them ahead of time before they even give you that objection. Very important. Okay. So, and then once I explain everything to them, and then they're like, okay, yeah. I'm like, I have 20K, 30K, 40K for an example in front of them. I'm like, so Mary, if, you pass away, what do you think, would be a good fit within your budget? And how much do you want to leave your daughter behind with? And I stop talking. There will be awkward silence. Can be 5 minutes, it can be 2 minutes, it can be 30 seconds, doesn't matter. You do not want to talk till the client picks an option. The first person talks will lose the game. So stay silent. There has been time like it was so awkward that I would be sitting for like 6-7 minutes on my phone to like doing nothing pretty much till the client picks up an option. Like I don't talk. I want to make sure, because you don't want to over explain anything, because you're going to lose it. You absolutely are going to lose it if you over explain it. So I let them choose an option. And then once they tell me that option, like, you know what, Rangina, let's go with option B. I circle it out. I'm like, great choice. Let's go ahead and see, Mary, we can get you approved for. And then second thing I do is that I open up my iPad, start typing as if like I'm starting an application, which I will start, but I'm just, like acting as if I'm starting the application. And then I'm like, Mary, do you drive? Okay, great. So go ahead and get me, get me your driver license and also a voided check. Let's go ahead and see if we can get you approved for this policy, okay? And when I say voided check, I do not have an eye contact. This is just me. I feel like, like on my computer and telling them to get me the voided check. And if when you have the confident guys and you know what you're doing, you know what you're saying, they're not going to question you. Maybe once out of 100, maybe, right? But they're not going to question you. So have that confident. You don't want to be like, oh, because you're new, you're scared, you don't have the confidence. If you feel, you're like losing. So ask for a cup of water, a glass of water. You're going to turn that pressure down. But other than that, these are the steps that I really follow. And then I submit the application and then I let them know. I know everybody does differently and you can do however works out for you guys. But what I do is that once I complete the application, say they got approved, I like to have another conversation with them. So I don't really let them know that they got approved. I tell them that, hey, Mary, so the application has gone through the underwriting. They will take, 24 hours up to 48 hours to make sure that if you get approved or not. So as soon as you get approved, I promise I'm going to call you back myself. Okay. And Mary, this is your cell phone. And for worst case scenario, if you don't get approved for this coverage, not end of the world. We always have a plan B, but we always shoot for the best one first. Mary, this is my information. This is my personal number. You can call me on the holidays, weekends, whenever you have any questions. I'm here to answer that for you. So go ahead and give me a call. And you know, make sure that if you have any questions or you will receive any more phone calls, let them know you're protected. And I'm not gonna say that you're not gonna receive any more phone calls. You might receive a ton of more calls, but if you could, you know, I promised you a lot of things today, Mary. I promised we're gonna get you protected. We're gonna make sure your daughter's paid tax-free check, and this amount. I promised you all the benefits will be included with the policy. So I made a lot of promises. Do you agree? Great. Now, one promise that I want from you, Mary, is that if you, you know, for any reason down the road, life happens and you're not able to afford this or whatever happens, last thing I want you to do is, without talking to me, calling me, canceling the policy. That's the last thing I want for you, is canceling the policy. So what I want you to do, Mary, is that call me, and I promise you we're gonna find a way to either keep the policy or lower the face amount. Does that make sense? So I'm gonna be your agent for the rest of your life till you pass away or I pass away. Is that fair? So, Mary, was I able to help you out today? Are you happy with my service today? Great. So if you know anybody that needs my help, this is the time that I get referrals. Like if you know someone, neighbor, friends, family that needs my service, and I'm sure everybody needs life insurance, right? I'm here to help them out. So, and then I close the statement, give them my information, and then that's pretty much it. Okay. Maybe I missed something that I do in home and I have missed it here, but you know, the conversation looks, you know, might look slightly different, but these are the overall steps that I really follow, about 8 steps that I really follow when it comes out in-home presentation. So let me go ahead and see here. I think there are some questions. If you guys have any questions, just unmute yourself. I'm gonna just read it off here. Okay, so Sterling, he has a question on, you know, how did we go to the in-home? I think Sterling was not here when we went over the phone script on Monday. I'm pretty sure he has missed it. But you know, of course, we're talking about going in-home is when we purchase a lead, we call them, book an appointment, and then go show up at their door. That's how the process will look like, and we end up meeting them in their home.
So it did come from a third party lead?
Correct. So they fill out the form,
Okay.
basically. Yeah, they fill out the form, say it's online on Facebook. You purchase the lead, you know, get the lead, you call them, you book an appointment, and then you show up at their door, basically. This is for showing it local.
I just at the beginning, I wanted to know if this was like a warm lead that we already knew, or if this was somebody that we never knew beforehand. So that's where that question came from.
Gotcha.
Two other quick ones, and then I'll put myself back on mute. One is for voided checks, because a lot less people are actually getting checks these days. Is there an alternative to the voided check? That's one small question. But then another one is, what has been with my background in sales, it just makes me ask this question. Has there ever been an approach in which at the beginning you kind of ascertain what they're willing to pay for when it comes to an expense before going into the benefits and the money and things like that? At the end of the day, it's another bill. So how much conversation do you have beforehand so that on the back end of the discussion, and they have to choose what the plan is, they don't get any type of sticker shock or anything like that when it comes to the prices, the monthly prices of the policy? Is there anything good with just, you know, kind of having that question of how much they're willing to spend before you go into the product.
Absolutely, good
And-
question. So,
Okay.
yeah, go ahead. Was that it?
Though those were the two questions. Those were
Okay,
the two
perfect.
questions.
So,
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sterling. So first thing first, when it comes down to voided check, you will be surprised that there will be a lot of people when you're actually sitting at home, they have voided check. But if they don't, two things you can do. Number one is like if they tell me that, oh, I don't have a voided check. Hey, no worries. Anything that, a bank statement can be used as well. Anything that shows your bank information will be appreciated. So they might have like a slip that's from the bank that shows the routing and account number, and a lot of seniors do have that for their information. And then bank statements, most of them, they show the entire account number on the account information on the bank statement. So that's another way you can use. But just say worst case scenario, they don't have access to any of them. Second thing, what I do is that I'm like, okay, what company or what bank are you with? And I call them and get that information while I am with the client. So that's the second thing you can do. Okay, that's with the bank information. And then coming to your second question, Sterling, that's when I mentioned that it's very important. Actually, it's crucial to really like go over their finances. Like I'm like, hey, I'm a free financial advisor, is to really go deep into their income. Like I'd like to know what their income looks like, how much they're paying for the rent, how much they're paying for any utilities, any other bills or insurance or anything else that they have. And I like kind of see what at the end of the month what they're left with. Most likely during your conversation, they will tell you that they're on fixed income and things like that, which is great. But I like to really break it down to kind of see where we are at. As I mentioned before, if they're left with $300, $200 a month, I don't want to show them a $300 policy. I kind of like show them up to 50% to 70% of their money that's left, and let them choose, basically. I hope that answered your question.
It does. I agree with you and Go Getters that confidence, comfortability, and for me, really not coming off as a salesman. So usually I would like to really get a sense of where they are with things, which I think that you're laying out, and really let them know that, hey, I'm not trying to sell you something. I'm just trying to get you something that you are preconceiving you will want to pay every month.
Exactly.
So whether it's $20 or $200, let's just make sure that when I'm going in and looking at the plethora of providers that we have, I just want to make sure that I'm doing something that's right for you and not just trying to sell you a plan. So usually I like to get a sense of what they're willing to spend, even though I understand the point of value, And when you and just for a side note, when you give that water story to people, tell them you're gonna be in the desert. How much valuable is that $10 water if you're gonna be in the desert?
Right.
So it can do great things for your digestion, your skin, but what if you was gonna be in the desert and you didn't have anything? I bet you that $10 water would be a great deal.
Love it. I'm going to use that. Actually, I'm going to add that on top of it. Love it. So see, that's the thing I love, when we have conversation, I like to learn. I'm always a student, right? I like to learn from you guys. You guys are going to learn something from me, my experience. I'm going to learn something from you guys. So this is a teamwork, right? And I love that, Sterling, what you just said. So that's why it's really, really important to really throughout my conversation, I like to point out a ton of time, multiple times about their budget, like for them to be comfortable paying. I'm like, hey, Mary, I'm not here someone, trying to get you the highest premium possible out there. The next day you call me to cancel the policy. That's not what I want, because it's not going to do good anything for you or to your family. So I want you to understand that I'm here to get you something that's within your budget. That's not. Last thing I want to do is put a policy in place that, take food off of your table or whatever it might look like. I know how important this is for you, Mary. So be very, comfortable with me. Let me know if it's high or low. We can adjust the death benefit. Well, I'm showing them the 3 options. I always like to mention, you know, like, hey, these are just options that based on what you told me, I suggest to you, but know this, Mary, that you are able to adjust these options based on your needs, based on your budgets. Does that make sense? I like them, let choose and be comfortable with me. So, and then, one more thing I want to mention, I think, you know, when you're going, I mean, maybe 10%, 15% of the time, there will be times that you might not just, you know, end up not getting the sale for whatever reason it is, right? They're not able to help them out. They, you know, whatever reason that you may think of. But all the other 90%, 85% is, I think one of the three things happen that you're not gonna get the sale is, I always like to blame myself for everything. That's me, right? Number one, either you were not educated, you did not educate yourself, you did not go over the, you know, presentation, you did not follow the steps. You did not know your competitors. Educating yourself is very important, or you did not build a rapport. Very important. When I'm like talking to them low, high, depending on their situation, painting the picture like I'm, you know, showing them sympathy, like all those things does matter, like building rapport, building that connection with the client is very important. And also asking the right question when you're going through the conversation. Asking the right question and really is important. You don't want to, like, as I mentioned, like throw it out there without knowing what they're looking for. And then third thing, I think it's confidence. I always talk about it because confidence, you're going to get it in two ways. Number one, everybody is different, right? Number one, when the money hits your account, then a lot of people are like, oh my God, this is real. I'm going to go after it, right? Or the second thing is that you are actually, have not sat down with a lot of people, which is okay. I mean, it's not that, oh, okay, we're like, you know, we're all human beings. I mean, we can feel, you know, inside, we can feel really nervous, but you don't want to show it in your face and show it, you know, to the client. So make sure you have the confidence built. And by seeing a lot of people, that's how you build confidence. You have to make sure, understand that the first 60 days, or I would say, let's put it this way, we always say this in the past as well, we have said it in the past too, that first 100 clients, 100 sit downs, I would say, whether you get the sale, you don't get the sale, you get it, whatever it is, 100 sit downs, 100 people, the first 100 people you see, or basically a practice. After the 100 people, you're gonna get pro at it. You will know ups and downs of this business. Like you'll know everything about the business. You'll have the confidence, you'll know, the business gets repetitive basically. So you'll have a really good idea and get pro at it. So I think those are the things that, you have to really make sure you build up within yourself. But overall, any questions regarding the steps that we went over or anything else? I didn't go over any objection, just so you guys know. That's going to be on the second. We're going to go over objection next week, as well as the FEX toolkit, which is, I think it's really important to use that, utilize it. But any questions overall right now?
Just one, and I don't want to manipulate the call. So if there was another question, go ahead and field it. But as we are looking at establishing these relationships with these prospective clients, within our conversation, there may be things that come up that they may need health coverage, or they have a 401k, or if they have, mortgage that may need to be protected. I know that we handle specifically the life side of things. Is there people that's readily available to us within Experior that we can connect to that can facilitate a call that, or some a scenario that's outside of the life piece?
I'm actually really glad. I totally missed that, so I'm glad you reminded me of that. So yes, to answer your question, yes. Here's the thing, okay? When we, figure out that if they have 100K or 50K sitting, in their bank or 401K, whatever it might look like. Next thing I asked them, once I close the deal, I am done with my final expense appointment. I like to ask them 1-2 questions, okay, just to gather information. I'm like, so Mary, you mentioned earlier that you have X amount of money sitting in your 401K. What are your plans with that money? What have you thought about to, leave it to build up, to leave a legacy behind? What are your plans with that money? I asked them first. And then the second thing I asked them, like, how much money have you lost during, so many years with the market going crazy? And believe it or not, most likely they're gonna say, oh gosh, don't even ask, like it was bad, blah, 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 right? They get statements every year. So I'm like, okay, Mary, now I'm really glad that you trusted me with your final expenses. I promised you all the, everything I promised that's gonna, that's gonna be for you and your family, of course, out there. But also, Mary, if I show you a way that you are going to be able to protect your money and be able to leave a lot more money behind for your family and be able to get your money into market, to always get it to making sure that we eliminate any type of fees and taxes. Is this something that you want to have a conversation about? Are you interested in it? And they'll be like, yeah, sure. I'm like, great. So here's what we're gonna do. I wish I had time today, Mary, but I have another appointment to go with, and I don't want to put you in a spot like with all the information all together. So I want you to digest what we went over with final expenses. Let me go ahead and work on your illustration. I'm gonna create something for you, okay, to show you visually. And if it's something that's that's gonna interest, that you're gonna be attracted to, great. But if not, all good. You are where you are, okay? Nothing is gonna change. Sounds fair? Like, yes, okay, great. So, and then before I leave the door, I schedule an appointment for next week. I give it a minimum of 5 days to make sure that I gather information myself. I have, illustration ready and things like that. I schedule for next week. So I'm like, hey, Mary, I have this time available. So, I schedule and then I leave. And then what I do when I come back, from NLG, we have a great guy. I think his name is Jim. I don't know, last name Mosley maybe, or maybe I'm mistaken, but Jim from NLG, he's a great guy. He helps out from A to Z with, illustrations and things like that. And then also Quantum, what's his name? Colton Dorr. No, Colton. I don't know his last name. Colton is a great guy as well to get in touch for annuities. So NLG is great for IULs. And then for annuities, Colton from Quantum is a great guy. Here's what they're gonna do. You will be able to give them information what the client is looking for. So you want to ask them, of course, what they're looking for, get an idea with, if they want to leave it to build up and, a ton of interest, leave a legacy behind, or they want to, if it's a younger client, they want to have it for their retirement or buy a house with that, whatever their goals might be, you collect that and then share it with the team. And what they will do is they help you out with the illustration, what to tell them, what to go over A to Z basically, to even, be available with you when you are with the client. So if you are, let them know this is the time that I will be with the client. Are you able to help me out? If they have any question, is it okay to call you? So give them the time, and then once you're there, they'll be able to help you out 100% of the time. So we have
that's
team.
great.
Yeah,
that's
we
great.
have
I
team
appreciate it.
Absolutely, Sterling. We have team that's, that's really specialized in IULs and annuities and things like that. So take advantage of each other. So great question, Sterling. I appreciate you. Any questions or comments, Sam? I see you unmuted yourself.
Yeah, no, well, I will say something, but then you can wrap up. We're past the 1 hour mark. But regardless, I want to give you a different perspective how simple the in-home can be if you think about it from this perspective. A stranger, a total stranger, and guys, this is in regards to leads that I'm talking. I'm used to leads only, not so much friends and family business. So the leads are strangers almost every single time, and a stranger letting you inside their house, knowing why you're there, knowing they requested something, and still let you inside their house. What you gonna do after that? All you gotta do is not mess it up. They're open to letting a stranger in their house to listen to the person. Dude, just present and don't mess it up. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely. I love it, Sam. Absolutely. Okie dokie. Well, we're not gonna take any more questions. I apologize. If you have any question, please reach out to me directly. But we'll let you guys go. We do have today, what is it? IULs, I think. Let me just make sure. What do we have today? Every day there are a training, so make sure you check Telegram for that. We do have daily training. So today is BTO company overview at 6 p.m. Mountain time. So just hop on and get to know more information about the company and overview. Other than that, if you have any questions, please reach out to me directly. We'll see you guys then next day. Take care and have a blast, you all.
All right, thanks, Ryan.
You got it.